Welcome, Michelle.
It's great to be here. This is my favorite event of the year. All of the heat winners and all of the heats. Some really original ideas going at the challenges that are most significant, most consequential for the U.S. At this moment in time.
The first thing that stood out for me was how humbling an experience it was. These are sharp minds that we just had the privilege of listening to.
What makes a pitch great is to be able to be concise, but also tell folks why it matters.
In the national security and foreign policy community, where it tends to be people who, move around from different places in Washington and sometimes can be a little bit susceptible to groupthink. Those presentations that presented something that were really just a whole new way of looking at a particular idea or question, I think were the most compelling.
The why. So defining the problem clearly before you give your solution will help us understand how that solution really will fix that problem.
Sure. So I started off with a story about the Wright Brothers, which is a classic story of American innovation, because I wanted to inspire. If two brothers who owned a bike shop could build an airborne plane in the early 1900s, imagine what we could do for innovation if we had a national cloud today.
I just want to also give a shout out to the folks in the comments. We've got some great comments that keep going, so I'm going to keep mentioning them. Colonel Jarvis says, when I say NatSec, you say Girl Squad. So we've got the NatSec Girl Squad crew. We know them well. They're representing in the chat. Love seeing that.
According to the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education, as of March of this year, there were over 460,000 unfilled cybersecurity positions across the United States. There aren't enough qualified applicants, and we cannot afford to wait for educational initiatives to close that gap. Instead, to create a proactive solution to cybersecurity for challenges of both today and tomorrow, I propose the national security community, led by the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, establish a civilian cybersecurity corps.
Shifting some of the military's platforms to run on hydrogen would also help reduce the DoD's contribution to climate change and provide opportunities to work with close allies and partners like Australia and Japan that already have national hydrogen strategies.
The Defense Department must invest in cutting-edge climate technology to ensure a resilient defense infrastructure and a climate-ready force. The Defense Innovation Unit, or DIU, is the ideal organization to drive these investments. First, it's the only DoD organization focused exclusively on rapidly scaling commercial technology. The DIU's procurement agility can also advance the integration of critical climate technologies across the entire Defense Department.
We're the innovation leader, and we need to compete on our terrain. So to leverage this competitive advantage in chaotic innovation, I'm pitching the Democracy Seed Fund. We're a US government venture fund that will provide thousands of small injections of seed capital to launch a new generation of startups founded by a diverse group of innovators with creative ideas for disrupting digital authoritarianism.
Okay, so Tucker Jones says, state seems to have the most opportunities for innovation in their mandate. Not a swipe at state as it functions, an endorsement of what they can do if they choose to.
Faster and farther than true ones. With social media's amplification potential and global reach, information warfare is happening at an alarming rate, and we need a better toolkit to address this evolving problem. That's why I propose a United States-led global alliance of democracies against disinformation.
Today, America needs to organize the coastal states of the Mediterranean littoral to address seaborne challenges. My proposal is that the US should organize a maritime coalition between Southern European and North African coastal states.
My proposal is that the NIH and a new U.S. executive-level body take the lead in creating a global institution governing upstream processes in life sciences and patient data. The body will work to harmonize international regulations and standards of practice for labs and clinical trials. Most urgently, we need mutually adopted frameworks for issues of privacy, security, and knowledge sharing.
It's time to remove our global blinders and join with our allies to invest in supply chains that truly reflect our values. And blockchain can help. Working with like-minded nations, we can create a new marketplace for sustainably sourced goods centered around high environmental, labor, and climate standards.
I would say there's a very tangible element in each of the presentations. Folks pointed to direct entities that could take up these challenges, and that's rare, right? It's great to think big and be strategic, but there was an operational element in each of the presentations that I appreciated. So.
The First Lieutenant Andrew Basovich Jr. Award has been presented at CNAS each year, all the way back to the very founding of the center. We established the award originally in honor of First Lieutenant Basovich, who was killed in action in Iraq in 2007. He was someone that through his life and through his service to country and through living his values really represented the best of America. It exemplified the kind of courage and integrity and commitment to a better world to which all of us aspire. And so each year we take a moment to honor the memory of Lieutenant Basovich and to recognize extraordinary members of the CNAS team for their leadership, for their values, and for their contributions to U.S. national security. This year, there are two such individuals, two recipients of the First Lieutenant Andrew Basovich Jr. Award, Jasmine Butler and Carissa Nietzsche. Each exemplify many of the qualities and the values that have animated our awardees for well over a decade now.
Andrew Basovich, who made the ultimate sacrifice, is a constant reminder that we have to not only have vision, but bravery and courage to do whatever it takes for the betterment of this country. I have the honor of working with brilliant colleagues who are innovative thought leaders in this space and who show me every single day the power of their influence. I'm so grateful to CNAS, which recognizes the strength of diverse voices at the table and understands the tremendous work that still needs to be done so that people like me are no longer the only or the first.
In a city with denizens too often dazzled by credentials, titles, and formers, CNAS is looking to the next generation. The spirit of futures, not formers, is a guiding principle of the institution, an institution that understands that the next generation will be left with some of the world's most pressing challenges.
The lack of dedicated personnel within the State Department to address global health diplomacy leaves the U.S. vulnerable to future pandemics. To address this critical information gap and better coordinate global health initiatives, the Department of State should establish a new Public Health Officers Cone.
I am suggesting the creation of a national security consortium of government organizations, academic institutions, and think tanks that facilitate a national security literacy program. This program highlights specific skills rather than degrees that are viewed as most relevant to tackling emerging national security challenges.
Space Force has a pretty important mission, but do Americans actually know about it? Do they have confidence in the Space Force? 61% of Americans support the idea of a Space Force, but how do we fix this disconnect? I propose an educational program.
The Defense Department should make a central aim of U.S. military training to empower warfighters at all ranks to recognize when their decisions in peacetime, crisis, and across a spectrum of competition alike might trigger escalation and how to avoid it. Military commanders already think in terms of risk to forces, risk to mission, risk to strategy. Let's add another crucial one, escalation risk.
Behind the scenes folks, and we look forward to engaging with you further in the Make Room Initiative event tomorrow and as the conversation continues through the end of our annual conference.